Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case.
We will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Bill Hinz. Bill is the Chief Strategy Officer at Hinz Consulting. He's a qualified BD Strategist, proposal manager, technical management volume lead, and a proposal writer who has worked on dozens of projects worth between $100 million to 14 billion pounds in single awards. Since 2008, Bill has personally helped clients win more than 4 billion pounds new business, specializing in unseating incumbents. He has supported numerous civilian, DoD, and intelligence agencies, including the Army, the Navy, the DHS, Labor, USAF, USCG, and DISA. His experience also includes serving as Vice President at AOC Key Solutions and as a Business Development Manager for OST Global Solutions. Bill is an expert technical writer and strategist who has supported proposals for clients such as BAE, CACI, CSC, KBR, Northrop Grumman, and SRA International. Bill is a member of Entrepreneurial Advisory Board and is a graduate of the University of Delaware with a BA in Sociology and minor in Philosophy. Welcome, Bill, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much, Bhaskar.
Bill, let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your high school and education.
Absolutely. Let's see. I was born at Bethesda Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. My parents were both Army linguists, so they were both in the military. And so I was born there. But I grew up first in DC and then very much of my early life actually overseas. So that was kind of the genesis of me. And then, we sort of moved around a bunch following my father's political career. He was a diplomat and was stationed several places overseas, including in Lagos, Nigeria, Warsaw, Poland, and Moscow. So we lived in those places, eventually settling in the DC metro area, though, for my sort of formative years. We came back, I think I was 10 years old or 11 when we moved back to the United States, and I've been here ever since. So it's sort of like education, like high school education. I went to local school here in Alexandria for high school, Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, called TJ, and eventually I went to the University of Delaware, as you mentioned, and majored in sociology with a sort of a focus on social theory. And my philosophy minor was in theology, sort of studying people's belief systems. So that's my background.
Wow, traveling with your father to different type of countries, all the way from Africa to Russia. Do you have any memorable childhood memories, Bill?
Oh my goodness, so many. So starting from the earliest ones, when we lived in Lagos, we found an alligator in the swimming pool on the compound once when I was very small. That was, I think, a terrifying experience for my parents. But for me as a little tiny kid, I was excited. But let's see, going on to probably jumping all the way to Moscow. That was the last posting before we moved back to the United States. That's where I have most of my childhood memories from. And the big thing about living in Moscow, at least for me as a little kid, was the sort of the volatility of the ruble at that time made it so that you would kind of, do your chores around the house and save up, your allowance to try to go get some, toy or thing that you want. And it would you'd get to the store and find out that, either you could afford 10 or one of the, or none of the item that you'd been saving for. So that was a very early lesson, I think, in economics and exchange rates as a little kid. So.
That's interesting. I mean, like you are already in a different country, and then you're able to understand the fluctuations early on. And so when you came back to the States, how was the settling in? Were you okay to settle in straight because you have been traveling different countries and you settled down in a new country, which is your home country? And then how was the schooling then, and why this particular subject at University of Delaware for your bachelor's?
Yeah, so, well, let's see. So settling back in the States, I remember being a bit of culture shock for my sister and I. I have a younger sister. She's 2 years behind me. And the thing that I remember finding very strange about coming back to live in the States was sort of the availability, the commercial availability of anything you could possibly want, because I'd lived on, sort of either military or diplomatic compounds, right, all over the world, where you sort of had available to you what was there at the commissary, right? So it was sort of a very restricted sort of commercial world. And then you come back to the United States and I remember walking through the aisles of a grocery store with my sister and just kind of marveling at what all was there. They have how many types of cereal in this place? Just stuff like that was kind of incredible. But I think once we sort of settled in to life, we got re-Americanized quickly. But yeah, that was kind of the experience coming back. In terms of pursuing my education the way that I did, I actually took kind of a strange road to get there. We'll probably touch upon this more later, but I was actually trying to be a music major in college. I got into several schools for piano performance, and that was what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a performer. The school I ended up attending was Loyola University in New Orleans, and I was there for about 6 days before Hurricane Katrina hit, and I had to evacuate. So my parents picked me up and evacuated me out of the city. We drove back home, and I actually attended Georgetown University for a semester as a refugee student, trying to figure out what to do with my life next, since everything had kind of fallen apart. So I went around and sort of visited a bunch of different places, including where my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was attending, which is University of Delaware. And I went up there to visit her, and I just, on a whim said, hey, what, I'm trying to figure out where to go. Maybe I'd like this place. So I wandered around there, and I met with the sociology and criminology folks there. And I really liked the program. And so then it was this very awkward discussion with my parents about, wait, you want to go where? Are you just chasing after this girl? And no, I actually like this program that I want to go join. So I decided I wanted to go study sociology at this place. And my girlfriend happens to be there. So I went through that whole process and ended up transferring to UD. And I liked the study because I really like understanding sort of why people believe the things that they believe. And so, both the sociology and the philosophy study that I did in college was centered around that. You know, a lot of people in my major, in the sociology major at the time, you know, they were actually trying to become, you know, social workers. Like they wanted to help people in, you know, in a very sort of tactile way. And that was not me. That was a, you know, really sort of a theory guy. And I liked it because I was learning about, you know, all these great thinkers and great writers, and why they thought the things they did and how they conducted their studies and all that kind of stuff. So I was big into sort of the research and philosophical side of sociology, and then on the philosophy department piece, it was again, you know, studying theology, learning about people's, you know, religious beliefs. So
wow, what a cultural grounding there. Well, I mean, like, so you completed your bachelor's then. What was your first job, or were you working before university?
yeah, actually I had to kind of rack my brains on this. My first job technically was in the summers before I went to college. I was actually a paintball referee at a place called Pev's Paintball out in Aldie, Virginia, here near where I live. The first real sort of office style job that I had was supporting a mentor of mine who was a lawyer, sort of, you know, answering the phone and being the administrative assistant at a law office. So I did that after being, you know, shot at with paintballs by little kids for a living. So those were my two first jobs.
Nice. And what brought you into the proposal industry, Bill? Talk us through the journey.
Yeah, so interesting. I was kind of working my way part-time jobs through college, and my junior year of college, I got an opportunity to work for a woman named Alessia Smitrova Taylor, who I understand has been a Scribble Talk interviewee, and she was running a small company at the time called OST Global Solutions. And Alessia used to work for my father when he was running Raytheon Technical Service Company's business development unit. And she was a senior proposal manager and became a senior consultant running her own shop, and asked me to come in and do some IT and systems administration stuff, web development things. I'd always been into technology and sort of, you know, was a techie guy. So I ended up going over there and doing some of that stuff while I was working my way through the tail end of school. And what happened is I let slip that I had access to the whole Adobe Creative Suite and knew how to do graphics. So I started doing some proposal graphics on the side for her when she had, you know, kind of emergency client needs to do edits of I mean, I wasn't, you know, I'm no great graphic artist, never was, never will be, but I did some sort of side project work on proposal graphics. And then eventually she figured out that I could actually write. And that's when I was truly doomed and trapped in this profession forever. So she put me to work writing on bids, and that became my sort of launching point for my career.
Nice. Yeah, so Alessia was there in Scribble Talk. We even hosted her in the recent webinars as well, Bill. So you got good footing from Alessia at OST. Talk us through your proposal career, then all the way up to Hinz Consulting today, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I worked for Alessia for a couple of years, sort of right at the beginning of OST Global Solution. It was just getting started. And then when I left there, I freelanced for a little bit before going to work at a company that, you know, Ashley, of course, is very familiar with. I went to work at AOC Key Solutions. And I worked there as a sort of a junior proposal person all the way up through, I became a VP at KSI. I believe at the time, the youngest VP in the company's history. I was always the youngest guy in the room, sort of my whole career, starting this at, you know, 19 or 20 years old. Will do that to you. But I ended up at Key Solutions at a time where they were really pushing several of us younger professionals to build skills and kind of drive up the ladder, what I call sort of the value chain in business development consulting. So I ended up there as a coordinator, junior writer, but went all the way up to business development strategist, basically. Like my sort of final pinnacle of my career as a consultant was in strategic facilitation. I ran black hats. I ran competitive intelligence discussions and helped people try to figure out and articulate their business strategy and how that applies to a particular deal. And that was what I really, really loved doing the most as a consultant. In addition to working on technical volumes, I really liked meeting the technical people and doing the tech volume itself. It's funny, I tell this to a lot of people who I advise on sort of career planning and plotting things out. Sometimes you set a goal for yourself and you chase after it, and then oddly enough you get what you set out to get, and it's not what you wanted. So my goal when I started at Key Solutions was to become a senior proposal manager, and I raced up the ladder to do that. Got there and discovered I did not like doing that job, which was probably shocking, not just to me, but to other people around me. But I actually really much preferred running the tech volume. And like I said, actually hands-on writing. I found that being a proposal manager, you actually get to do far less of that hands-on work. And that's what I really loved. I loved meeting the technical leaders, the innovators, interviewing them and getting to know what it is that they do and why they do the things that they do. But so anyway, so after working at KSI and kind of building up my skill set, I had always had this plan from the beginning to go out and sort of hang my shingle out with my father, who oddly enough, I very rarely worked with or had much interaction with in the business development community. He was, of course, a mentor of mine. I asked him for advice on things, but he and I very rarely got to work together. So he was freelancing at the time, and I decided I was at a point in my career I wanted to try to do the same. So I left KSI to do that, and got an opportunity actually to build out a much broader firm. And so partnered with my business partner now, Dan Marsh, who's the CEO of Hinz Consulting, and my father Pete, and myself, we actually just went into business, the three of us, three guys in a garage to start, and have built that up into a pretty sizable proposal consulting firm at this point in Hinz Consulting. And so I'm talking about career. I mean, my career diverges from straight up proposal tradecraft pretty drastically once you start running a business. And so I was the CFO for Hinz Consulting for 3 years. I helped design a lot of the infrastructure and build out a lot of the business processes, and have sort of pivoted much more into a business guy and sort of an executive leader rather than a proposal person per se. But I still try to keep my chops up. I don't work on active bids often, but I do participate in a lot of reviews now and help try to mentor people through building their skills.
Nice. So what a fascinating journey, Bill. Bill, over these years, you might have worked on multiple proposals as we shared in the intro. Any tenders, plus and minus, comes to your mind? Yeah,
so a particular effort, like a seminal effort for me in both my career and my experience, is working on this bid called TSA ITIP. It was actually pretty early in my proposal career. I was working for Alessia at the time, but it was memorable for a number of reasons. One is I actually met Dan, my business partner, on that bid. He was the guy in charge of writing all the key personnel resumes, and I was the graphics coordinator for the bid. So humble beginnings for the Hinz leadership here on this proposal. But the thing that was crazy about this bid was it might be the second largest project I've ever been on in terms of just number of people. I mean, there were 100 writers on this proposal. And at the time, it was sort of a who's who of the proposal consulting industry. And so I was in there kind of, just sort of jaw dropped, like looking around at all these expert, super genius proposal professionals everywhere, wandering around this building. And the bid took up, more than 2 floors of this huge facility that we were working at, because there were so many people working on it all the time. And the thing that I remember just being nuts about this thing was, like I said, I was what they were calling the graphics coordinator, which I don't know if people work on projects this big anymore, where you have somebody whose full-time job it is to run around with all of the versions of every graphic in a bid in these giant, I had these 6-inch 3-ring binders I was running around with, like making sure that this proposal stayed, maintained configuration control just on the graphics side. That's how complicated it was, that we had that much, that many moving parts. The bid ended up being something like, tens of thousands of pages. I remember like 30,000 pages upon final submission. And it was a hard copy delivery, right? So we don't do many of those anymore, but it was a hard copy delivery. And for some reason, the customer had asked for like a dozen copies of this thing. So the proposal ended up going through this weeks-long production effort, and then actually having to be palletized and shrink wrapped and loaded onto a flatbed truck in order to be delivered to the customer. And anyone who's been involved in a really large production effort for a hard copy delivery knows that, you're also not going to only make one copy of the deliverables in case something goes wrong. So we actually had to do 3 sets of 12 30,000 page proposals in order to provide backup and backup to the backup to deliver this thing on time to the customer. So it was just this incredible titanic effort. And I met just a huge number of people who've been impactful in my career since then on that one proposal. So that's really I think the big one that stands out in my career.
Wow, 100 proposal writer, thousands of pages, my God, compared to now, where we sometimes use Excel spreadsheet to submit tenders. Well,
absolutely.
It's fascinating. Bill, I think you kind of alluded into, how you kind of initially started with proposal writing, worked for 2 different bid consulting agencies, then went on to start Hinz Consulting with yourself. Talk us about Hinz Consulting and then the type of projects that you do, or anything interesting about Hinz Consulting.
Sure. So, Hinz Consulting it's been a passion project of me for now about half of my career as a business development consultant. And the thing about Hinz Consulting is we've sort of been able to take a new age kind of spin on how to build a consulting firm. I've worked at some incredible places that are really large impact players in the industry still, but when we got the opportunity to do our own thing, we sort of did it our way. And so some interesting things about Hinz Consulting, they include that it's a completely virtual company, right? So there's no brick and mortar facility. You won't find a building with Hinz Consulting on the side of it. And we did that on purpose. It was because from a business perspective, we wanted to maintain a really lean overhead, but also just from a practical perspective, we prefer to be with our customers, working on site with our clients. And so that's kind of how we designed the company to work, is that, gives people the flexibility to work from home, which of course now is maybe a federal mandate for some, but at the time it was, a little bit odd to have everyone in the whole company working remotely all the time. And we've actually maintained a remote operation since 2014 when we started the company. And everyone who comes into the company really loves it. It's been a great experience kind of trying to build and manage our own culture through the complex dynamic of having a team spread all over the country. We have people who live in Indiana, in Texas, in West Virginia, and then of course all around the DMV, and commute's not an issue, right? I mean, we don't worry about meeting at an office to talk. We do everything virtually, especially in post-pandemic reality, but even before that. So that's been a lot of fun, and it's been a great experience. I think something we're really proud of on the Hinz Consulting side is that now 2 years in a row here we've been named a great place to work. That's of course through surveying of our employees, and so everybody at Hinz Consulting seems to really love working here. And we've managed to parlay like this modern culture into a place that people really love to work, and that also can have sort of a positive impact, not just on the employees, but also on and our customers, of course, but also on the local community. So we've tried to do a lot with local programs, like we work with a company that does sort of sustainable farming, and they give away a lot of their crops. And we work with a group that does backpack lunches that people take home on the weekends for children who are sort of in food insecure situations. And that whole thing has taking the company and making it this platform for positive change in people's personal lives and also the community and their professional lives has been a really fulfilling experience for me.
Totally. I wish you and the Hinz team success. So Bill, talk us through about this entrepreneurial advisory board that you're part of as well, please.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I got involved with this small group of local leaders. I guess almost seven years ago, and it started out as a chamber of commerce, I think it was a Loudoun Chamber of Commerce, might have been a Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, group to get small business leaders together and talk about business issues in kind of a safe environment where people can relate to one another. And so it actually branched off and has outlived that program, and now it's just as a standalone thing where a few of us who are small business owners or C-level executives in small companies in the Northern Virginia area, we get together and share all kinds of business challenges. So we talk about, how to deal with, not just, customer issues and employee issues, like technical things there, but business strategic issues. How do we do our planning? How do we set our budgets? How do we, try to foresee market forces and go where the opportunities are and things like that. So it's been a really great outlet for me to come to that group and just know that I have a bunch of people who know a little bit about my business from a tactical perspective. They know enough about my business that when I talk about things, there's some context there. And it can be difficult to find outlets for real serious conversation about your business outside of your business, right? You can only talk to your friends and family so much about business before their eyes kind of glaze over and they don't want to hear it anymore. So it's nice to go talk with a bunch of people who are very into business and who are entrepreneurs as well.
That's brilliant, Bill. I think it's always good to be surrounded by like-minded people, and looks like that's a good place to be. Bill, before I hand over to Ashley, I think we are now going to move from the professional side to the personal side, but through the key things not many people know about you.
Absolutely. Let's see. So as I mentioned at the beginning, up until I was 16, I had spent more time living outside the United States than in it. And that was kind of I think a strange thing to a lot of people. I grew up in an area where most people had spent their whole lives in the United States. And I think most people who live here now haven't spent a lot of time overseas. So that's one thing I think most people would not necessarily know about me. Let's see. Another one is I have personally designed and built every desktop computer that I've used since I was 12. I'm big into building machines, and my latest one actually had a lot of fun. I designed and parted out and built my current desktop computer with my son, who is 6, and so I'm kind of passing down the passion for computer hardware engineering, I suppose, to him. So that's another one. And then a third thing, this is just an off the wall thing that not a lot of folks probably know about me, is that along with two of my best friends in high school, we founded the ultimate Frisbee team at my high school, sort of on a whim, because we liked to throw a Frisbee around. And we ended up taking this little ragtag group of, science and technology nerds all the way to the regional finals in Virginia, the region that we were in. And we placed top 50 in the country for high school ultimate Frisbee in the first year we had that team. Which was kind of a hilarious outcome of this group of, like I said, technology focused nerds. We went on to play. I went on to play Ultimate a little bit in college, but and as an adult, I coached and played Ultimate in the local leagues for a while. But that was sort of my, I guess, claim to fame from high school, was creating this team.
Wow, three different unique things, especially the building up your desktop with your children sounds great. I remember the 1990s and the early 2000s where you have the option to build up your own PCs. After that, I'd only buy what's been available in the market. Bill, but thank you for inspiring on that one. And also the alternate Frisbee is fascinating. Plus, I know you have lots of hobbies and interests as well. I will leave Ashley to explore more on that and then take you to a different side of you. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for sharing so far.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Wow, Bill, it's been really fun hearing about your career and the great culture that you guys have developed there at Hinz Consulting. But we're going to pivot over to hear a little bit about you and what you do in your free time, if you have any. I understand that you can play the piano.
Yes, I'm a classically trained pianist, but I actually focused in high school on jazz piano. So I played in a jazz band locally and ran my own combo for a while that competed in things like the Chantilly Jazz Festival and stuff locally when I was growing up. And like I mentioned earlier, I actually planned to go do that in college. I ended up a performance major. And before Hurricane Katrina kind of threw a wrench in all those plans.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What a turn in your career, but it seems to have worked out for you. Do you still play the piano?
Yeah, I play every day. Yes.
Do you
I
really?
Still play, I play a little bit every day. It's a cathartic activity for me. I have a lot of fun with it. I still, basically, I've moved to less complicated and difficult things than jazz piano. I mainly do like popular music covers and stuff now for the kids because they enjoy it. So
yeah, I bet that's really fun for them.
Yeah, it is. They love it. So.
Oh my gosh. So in addition to being quite good at Ultimate Frisbee, I also understand that you're a competitive billiards player.
Yes, my eclecticism knows no bounds here. No, so I in high school and college I was really into playing pool, and I joined the billiards club in college looking for just a place to hang out and some like-minded folks, and I got really into it when I got back from college. I was playing in a local league in Arlington. And I got pretty good there, and I actually started working with a coach to go on the amateur circuit in the Northern Virginia area, and I actually played in the Northern Virginia Tour for a little while and competed in a whole bunch of large competitions. I played in the Open every year, and then I played in the Florida State 9-Ball Championship in 2012, I think, and just a variety of different things. I was kind of taking it on the road and trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to turn professional in billiards. ultimately, I think I made the right decision, because that is a job that puts you on the road 300 days a year and is not particularly lucrative unless you are one of the top players in the world. But I did have a lot of fun with it, and still try to play some now when I can.
Oh, wow. So many talents. That's quite fascinating. And of course, building your own computers, we'd expect that you love to play computer games and use that to stay in touch with old friends. Are there particular games that you're still playing to stay in touch with those friends?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like as an adult, I've gotten more and more into strategy games, and I've gotten ultimately into with kids. Anyone with kids understand it. You need games you can pause and walk away from, not games that you are, strapped to your chair playing all the time. So I try to play strategy games that there's a developer called Paradox, and they make a whole series of strategy games. One's called Crusader Kings, and it's like a medieval setting one, and then there's one called Stellaris, which is like a science fiction sort of grand strategy game. And like I said, the big draw for me of any of those kinds of games is you can hit pause when the kids need something and then come back to it hours later. So
yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that.
Yes.
And you're also a local sports fan. I guess you enjoy going to the local games. I bet your kids enjoy that as well.
Absolutely. I'm a huge baseball fan. I played baseball all the way through high school. I was a catcher, and I just love baseball. And that is my number one sport. I follow the Nationals extremely closely. And actually, my son, my daughter, my wife, we went to several games, not last season, but I think the season before. And it was great. We were down there sitting in right field, right behind Juan Soto. And one of the games, he actually turned around and threw a ball out to my son. He caught it. So now he's got a fan for life there, the Soto ball and everything. Pretty great.
Oh, super fun. Oh, and then I guess some outdoor activities with your mom and dad and the kids. Yeah.
So we love to, again, anyone who has kids there knows if you have a little boy, you got to find ways to spend all that excess energy. So my son can go a mile a minute forever. So we try to get out and do all kinds of fun things. We love to fish in the summertime, and we do hiking and trying to get outside, and then and golf is another one of my sort of hobby pastimes. And then my mom and I play together, and she's also the avid fisherman in the family. So we do that with my son and my daughter. And then just this year, we really got a lot more, the family more into skiing. I've skied with my father my whole life, but we took them out and got them on the slopes a lot more this year. My daughter, she's 4. It's the first time we got her out there, and she had a ton of fun with it. So I think we've got a skiing family now, which is good. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those will be some great memories for a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. So many fun things that you do in your free time, and, running a business. I can't believe you have time to do all of those things. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of sleeping around here. But
doesn't sound like it at all. But we're going to pivot into our random rapid fire questions round that we've named the Nutters round after Howard Nutt. So don't think too hard about your answers. And if you don't have one, we'll just move on. Don't worry about it.
Sure thing.
Okay. So what is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I make the bed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I get out of bed and I make the bed, because then at least I know I've done one productive thing that day.
Nice. Do you try to spend time at night without your phone?
I do. Although this may be cheating. I listen to audiobooks because I don't, as you can imagine, I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read hard copy books. Mm-hmm. So, but I try to turn the phone off so I'm not getting the light, but I listen to my books when I'm trying to get ready to go to sleep. And I try to to get the, like I said, get the device away from me, even though I'm still technically using it to listen to a book, but that's what I try to do.
Yeah, well, at least you're, quote unquote reading or at least listening. So I think it's a good cheat at least.
Yes.
When is the last time you wrote a letter to someone?
Let's see. That would have been about a year ago. I wrote a letter to, actually, this is kind of a strange one. I wrote a letter to the doctor and team at the veterinary clinic that had helped deal with a very serious set of problems with one of my cats. So but I felt it was important to write a handwritten thank you to them for everything that they did, because it was like just way above and beyond sort of the normal call of duty, I felt. So.
Oh, wow. Not many people take the time to do that. That's really great.
Thanks.
So what is your favorite hobby as a kid?
As a kid, I think my favorite hobby as a kid was probably collecting baseball cards. Ooh. My mother and I would go to the store and pick up a few packs, or I would get a few for a special occasion, and opening them and looking them up and seeing, learning who the players were. And my mother was a huge baseball fan, so she was teaching me about the players and the teams and all that stuff. So that was probably my favorite hobby as a kid.
Oh yeah, sounds fun for sure. Do you ever procrastinate?
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm a professional writer. I only can work with a deadline. Like this is the only way to get anything done in my life. I joke that I'm not a sustainer. I'm not good at those activities you have to do all the time. So like I'm one of these people that I can write a 300-page proposal in a couple of weeks if I have a deadline for it, but I can't keep my laundry done. So that's not me, So absolutely, I procrastinate all the time, but it is something that I've had to work to overcome in the business capacity, because it is a ton of sustainment activities. So.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Where do you want to travel to the most?
Oh, actually, my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. She and I really want to go to New Zealand. That is, like, I think, number one on our bucket list now. And of course, the problem with going to New Zealand is it is extremely far away and would take us a long time to both get there and then see a meaningful part of the country and then back again. And with kids, I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's definitely what we want to do one day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Such a beautiful place, but you're right, it is quite a long plane trip there.
Yes.
And back. So what is your favorite type of vacation?
I am one of these people who really likes to go and see new places. This is part of my upbringing, being the son of a diplomat, I guess. But seeing new places and finding out about other people's experiences, whether it's through sort of the historical sites in those places, or just seeing what daily life is like in places around the world. That's what I love to do on vacation. Now I will juxtapose that with my second favorite way to vacation is to stay at home and to do a staycation, because sometimes I just need to recharge energy. But I think number one for me is seeing really interesting places in the world.
Yeah. What is the most interesting place you've seen so far?
Oh my goodness. My favorite place I've been to, I think, is Zermatt, Switzerland, which is a small town at the Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps. My father and I went there to ski, and it was interesting from the very beginning, because to get there we had to, it was planes, trains, and automobiles. Like we flew in to Europe and then took like 6 trains to get to this place, and then getting to the town, there were no cars there. We had to take a train that is angled 45 degrees, and the platforms on it that are flat, but like the train is 45 degree angled, and you ride it straight through the mountain, like this hole carved in the mountain to get to this town. And it's this winter wonderland. It's like, being Christmas town all year round at this place at the Matterhorn. It was unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, that does sound really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What is the most you've ever spent on something you absolutely did not need at all?
That would be my paintball gun that I bought to play competitive paintball, which I did once ever. So I say my parents were the kind of parents that they said, look, if you want to buy this useless thing that we know you're never going to use, like, you're going to do it with your own money that you've earned, so you can feel the pain then of having made this poor purchase, which is what I did. I saved up all of my money for months and months and months, and then bought this heinously expensive paintball gun that I used a couple of times and then put away. So that is definitely it right there. So.
Oh, well, what a good lesson they taught you there, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you could either never have coffee again or never have dessert again, which would you choose?
Oh man, so I'm cheating on this one. I do not like coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Wow.
So for me, it's definitely that one. So.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's fascinating to me, the people who don't drink coffee. Do you not drink any caffeine at all? Like, do you have enough energy without caffeine?
Yes, I swore off caffeine years ago. It got to the point where I didn't think that I was addicted to caffeine, and but I drank, sodas and tea and other stuff. And one day I said, you know what, I'm gonna try without this stuff, and I fell asleep at 6:30 p.m. And that's how I knew I'd been keeping my body up artificially for too long. So I never did it again. So I don't really drink caffeine now. Every once in a while, I have like iced tea at a restaurant, but I don't drink caffeine at all.
Wow. Yeah. It's good though, right? If you found out you were addicted or running on it, you can at least have a better sense of when you actually need to rest without that.
Absolutely.
What is the first book you remember really loving?
It might be The Hobbit by
Tolkien.
Yeah. My mother read that to me when I was a kid, and that was how I fell in love with sort of fantasy and science fiction writing.
Yeah. Oh, what a good one.
Yeah.
What was the first band you ever saw live?
First band I ever saw live. I think my mother and father took me and my sister to see Tina Turner in concert when I was a kid. I think that was the first live performance I went to, and it was crazy. It was like a pyrotechnic show and everything. I remember being there and just being kind of amazed at the show. But I think that might be the first time I saw someone live.
Yeah, what a good one for your first one.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Is there a food you've surprisingly never had?
A food that I've never had. I'm trying to think. I don't think there is. I'm pretty open to trying things. I always try all the crazy local cuisines when I travel. So no, I don't think so. I don't think there's a food that I've never had that you've never had.
Wow. And is there anything that you just won't ever have again that you've tried?
Oh yeah, plenty of things. Actually, weird food that I don't like at all is I don't like tomatoes in just about anything. Obviously, I'll eat like pizza, right? But yeah, I don't like tomatoes, like fresh tomatoes and stuff like that. That's not one of my things, which is kind of a strange one.
I think it's more common than you'd think. I've heard that before.
Oh, really? People are not into tomatoes. Okay, that's good. I'm not alone here in the world.
You are not.
Bill, I agree with you. I don't eat tomatoes myself. So
there you go. Bastard. Nice.
So Bill, who are the people who've been the most influential in your life and career?
Wow, there are so many. The top of my list has got to be my father, Pete. So if you have not run into him at any point in the industry, he was sort of a titan in the proposal consulting world for many years. He is one of the best all time, proposal manager, strategist, everything. And he, on top of that though, he's also just my dad, like we're adventuring buddies, traveling around the world, seeing cool places, doing fun things. So I would say he's been kind of the number one for me. Got me into this industry in a way. I mean, he made the referral to me to Alessio, but but never forced me into it, but showed me the door. So that was definitely the largest influence. But after him, my wife Caitlin is my best friend. She was my high school sweetheart. We've been very lucky to build a crazy life together. Between running a business and raising little kids, she's been, a steadfast part of my life and put up with all the craziness that involves. So her, and then my grandmother is the other one. My grandmother, Betty, she still comes and walks with me every Tuesday and Friday morning. And she is the person who taught me how to treat other people. And that basically it is more important to be street smart and to treat people well than it is to be educated and book smart, as it were. So outside of the three of them, and on the professional side, I have a whole host of mentors. Obviously, my business partner, Dan, has been an incredible colleague and friend now, more than a dozen years in this industry. He's the most talented business mind I've ever been around. He's the CEO of Hinz Consulting now. He's an incredible person. And then some of the people we've already touched on, Alessia was my entree into this industry, my first boss, and taught me, that this is a real profession and that there's a real trade craft. And then Richard Nathan, who was the president of Key Solutions at the time when I was hired there, it was my longtime mentor in this and helped me direct my career, figure out how to set goals, grow skills, take on bigger and bigger challenges. And then the McCarthys, Jim and Greg McCarthy, at KSI, Jim used to take me everywhere with him. And the way I tell people is he was willing to take me places to do things that I was in no way qualified to do on paper. And he would let me do it, and try. And that was just incredible for me in my career. And then, Greg was just great because he took me seriously. I don't know how to convey this any better than just, I was the youngest person in the room on every bid I worked on almost my entire career. And so it was really hard to get people to take you seriously and listen to what you had to say. And the two of them were always very supportive of that. So I had countless other friends and colleagues throughout the years who influenced my career, but I think that's the top list.
Wow, lots of great people in your career, and it sounds like you stay in touch with many of them and continue to add value to the profession. So that's great.
Yeah.
So what is one personal trait that you like most about yourself?
I think for me, I try to keep my eye on the prize, so to speak. The personal trait for me is that I try to think strategically as often as I think tactically, and I think both as a proposal person and also as a business leader, that's really important. People can get sucked into the day-to-day and lose sight of what the purpose of all this is, and so I try whenever I'm working on things to focus people back on the actual goal. Like, okay, we're here working on this proposal. What are we trying to say? Why are we trying to say it? Who benefits from these things? How do they benefit? Because I feel like with that understanding and that focus on strategy, you do a better job, because everything that you're doing sort of has this cohesiveness to it, and it helps guide what your actions should be. So.
No, absolutely. Can you share a few tips on how you motivate people around you?
Absolutely. One way that I try to motivate people is simply by setting an example that it's okay to, what we call in Hinz Consulting, just fail fast. It's sort of a software development concept, but the idea of failing quickly is important, and to have an environment where it's safe and it's okay to fail on things is important. Because our view is, you want to try everything that you can to try to make things better. And a lot of times you're going to try things that don't work, and that's okay. So I try to set that example, not necessarily by, falling on my face all the time, but, by being open about, I had this idea, it didn't work out the way that I thought. Here's how I'm learning from that and building upon that experience. And I think that is one way that I try to motivate people and keep them engaged, is just to share that and be empathetic with people going through difficult issues. Working as a proposal consultant is an extremely stressful job, Working as a proposal professional at all is an extremely stressful job, but as a consultant in particular at our firm, I mean, you basically have to start a new job every 6 weeks, prove yourself, go in there, show that you're adding value, and it can be really stressful. So just making sure that people understand that they have this safe environment. That's one of the ways. And another one quickly is, just listening, being an active listener. That's a way that I try to motivate people. So I hear people out. I let their input, get fully out there. I mean, they could be angry, they could be frustrated, they could be, happy, overjoyed, whatever it is. And you just need to hear the full thoughts out and then be intentional about the way that you respond to them and show that you listen to people and you heard them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Listening is so, so important.
For sure.
So what have you observed lately in these COVID times that has reminded you that people are good?
Like I mentioned before, Hinz Consulting has been trying to participate in and be good stewards of local community. And I think in COVID and the sort of post-pandemic era, one of the things we tried really hard to focus on was giving people in the company an outlet for the positive energy and the empathy for fellow human beings that they had. So we did this entire campaign around basically every person in the company had to pick something that they cared about, and we were going to donate to it, participate in it in some way. And so we did that. And what really showed me that people are good is every single person in the company had something that they were passionate about enough to get us on board with, to push us to participate in. And we saw a window into everyone's sort of kindness and empathy that they had. So that was something that we did recently that really showed me that everybody is sort of at their core a good person.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing initiative there. Great to hear about that.
Thank you.
So what is one common myth about our profession that you want to debunk?
Let's see, there's a very long list of those. The one that I try to champion the most is the myth that you must have done something in order to write about it. In our industry, a lot of people think that because you don't have an operational background in something, or you're not a subject matter expert in the content that's being written about, that you can't add value to the process. And to that I say, you're wrong. I am living proof of that. I have made an entire career out of this, and I have zero operational experience in anything that our customers do. None. So to me, and when people ask me about, what do you communicate to the next generation of people trying to do this? This is a real profession. It is a real set of skills. It's a trade craft that you need to practice. And there is a difference between somebody who is an operational person who got suckered into writing on a proposal and somebody who's a professional proposal writer. Those are two totally different skills. Not demeaning either, the person who is tricked into doing what we do for a living on the weekends, but like the people who are pros have a skill set that they apply to this, and it does add value above and beyond knowing the actual ins and outs of the content.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that. So what piece of advice would you like to give to your fellow bid and proposal professionals that are listening?
I think my biggest piece of advice is to keep people focused on the point of all of this. It's in a competitive procurement environment. This is about scoring more points than the other guy. That's what we're doing here. And the way that proposals are evaluated is very strict and very specific in the US federal government marketplace. The rules are laid out and well documented, and when you're participating in a competition, do things that have the maximum value all the time. And you'll find that you win more and you have a better outcome overall. It's not going to happen that way every time for you. Everyone's got 1,000 stories of, the proposal they turned in that was, non-compliant, they somehow won. But but the point is that over time, practicing your trade craft and focusing on scoring more points than the other guy is the right way to do things. And don't let people convince you otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Those one-offs don't count and they really make our jobs harder.
Yeah.
But I agree so much.
Yeah.
So Bill, we are curious, what is next for you? You've done so much. You're still, quite early in your career. You've mentioned being the youngest in the room always for a long time. But what is next? What are you looking forward to in the future?
I want to continue to build Hinz Consulting. Hinz Consulting has become one of the larger players in the industry, but there's always room for us to improve and try to innovate and be more valuable and useful for our clients. We want to try to make the largest possible impact on those clients, but also on our colleagues, on the tradecraft and the industry, and our community. And my personal focus is also on grooming the next generation of people to do this. I think that one of the challenges we have is the aging workforce in the proposal profession, particularly in the proposal consulting arm of that profession. And, again, like I mentioned before, showing people that this is a real career and showing people that, this is a meaningful tradecraft to perfect is something I want to do. And I want to continue to grow and groom people in the right way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you need to get involved with APMP's Intentional Career Path program, Bill.
Sounds good. Sign me up. So.
Oh, all right. I'll get you in touch with Kristen.
Sounds great.
So Bill, is there anything that you had wished to discuss today on the podcast that we haven't covered?
Oh, not anything in particular other than that, on the APMP front, I'm actually going to be speaking with Len, who I believe you all also have had on Scribble Talk before, Len Miller, my colleague. We're actually going to be speaking at the APMP conference in Amsterdam on the 12th of April. So if folks are going to be around, please come look us up. We're always happy to talk about the profession and always happy to give people guidance where needed or just commiserate and listen where not. So.
Oh, that's going to be a great presentation. I know Len is a great presenter, and just hearing you today, Bill, I can tell that you two are going to make a great pair in Amsterdam.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So Bill, thank you so much for your time today. It really has been a privilege to have you here with us at Scribble Talk. We wish you all the good health and happiness. Please continue to inspire the bid and proposal industry professionals around you and everyone else. You have such a great impact on the community. So please do keep that up. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane.
Thank you, Ashley.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.